Mississippi House of Representatives is now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer today by the gentleman from Rankin. Remain standing thereafter for the pledge.
Pray with me today. Father God, thank you. Thank you for this warm weather that you've given us that lets us feel the warmth of your love. Even though it was there when it was cold, it was sometimes hard to feel. Lord, we still have people in Mississippi who don't have power and don't have water. We ask you to be with them. We ask you to be with the cities that are struggling to get their water pressure back up. We ask you to give them the knowledge and wisdom that they need to make that happen. We just ask you to be with all of our people and take care of them. Lord, we asked you humbly today to be with us, because today we're going to do something that will help the people of the state of Mississippi. And we asked you to give us your wisdom, your knowledge, your courage, and your power to do what's right for the people of the state of Mississippi. Let us be the voice of our voters. In Jesus' holy name I pray, amen. Face the flag and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introduction.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, we'll have introductions of guests and visitors. Lady from Madison, Ms. Ford.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Passes. Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to introduce our doctor of the day, Dr. Teresa Count Rogers. She specializes in emergency medicine. She's the Chief Quality Officer at South Central Regional Medical Center in Laurel. She's a resident of Petal and one of my constituents, so please make her welcome.
Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate your service today. Any other introductions? Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Ladner. Passes. All right, I don't see any others. Takes us to the calendar. Rules calendar. Passes. Appropriations calendar. Recognize the chairman. One minute, ladies and gentlemen, we're having computer issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to be having trouble with the microphone at the well. It does not seem to want to work. Try it now. Something popped. There we go. All right. Never mind. We don't have a problem with the mic at the well. You recognize, gentlemen?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is the Appropriations Calendar. This is first House action. I wish you'd pay attention here for just a minute. What we have before you are 50 bills. They're special funds and general funds. These bills are at LBR and have a reverse repealer. Now, there are going to be two of these bills. Let me get them. Number 27 will be House Bill 1391, and item number 50, House Bill 1414. We're going to pull those out and take them up independently. So there's really 48 bills I would like to bring up in block. Before we do that, there are some of you people need to look over these, and if there's a conflict with your employment, you might want to hold it aside so you won't be voting on your livelihood. So you look at that, and if you see a bill that we need to set aside due to that issue, let us know.
Jim from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, for a motion,
Yes, sir.
I would move, since the gentleman has expressed that these are all LBR and all have a reverse repealer on, with the exception of the ones he designated and the ones that will be set out, I move that we take them up in a block.
All right. Does anyone wish to have, let me review. We've already set aside number 27, House Bill 1391, and number 50, House Bill 1414. Anyone wish to have another item set aside? Gentleman from Warren, Mr. Ford. Try it now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 15 on the calendar, the Department of Insurance.
Okay. Lady from Pearl River, Ms. Wilkes. Same one. Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Set aside bill number 18, 19, and 26.
I'm sorry, 18, 19,
And 26.
26. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to set aside item number 3, House Bill 1367.
All right, that's all I see. Anyone else wish to have one set aside? All right, I don't see any. We'll give Madam Clerk a moment to program the computer.
Okay. Is that, could we go over those numbers again, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, sir. We have set aside number 3, number 15, number 18, number 19, 26, 27, and 50.
Okay, everyone have those numbers? Okay, excluding those, I'll make a motion to take up all appropriation bills, special funds and general funds, in a block vote except those numbers that we just called out.
Questions on any of these bills?
Move final pass, adoption.
Don't see any. We'll give Madam Clerk a moment to get the computer programmed.
But you're so dynamic.
No, sir.
No, you bring up your...
remind me how Hyundai is
Who does the library?
Richard. Get Richard.
You ready to go?
All right, open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor these bills, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas and 3 nays, all the bills pass. Next item.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the Appropriations Calendar. It'd be item number 3, House Bill 1367. Recognize the Vice Chairman to handle this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is House Bill 1367. It's approving the expenditure of special funds for the purpose of defraying expenses for the State Board of Cosmetology for the fiscal year of 2022. This is LBR's recommendation. It has a reverse repealer. It will be going to conference. It comes in at $714,150, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do need to go back procedurally and correct one thing on the previous vote. We got them all in a block, but we didn't call them up. So the gentleman moves the bills, calls the bills up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. That makes us legal with the previous vote. Now we move into this bill, item number 3. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill, gentlemen?
Final passage, if there are no questions.
Any questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1367. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas and 6 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to the next item, would be item number 15, House Bill 1379. Bring it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
This is the Department of Insurance, and it's like everything else, is at LBR, plus it has a reverse repealer. And that's the bill. There's no question. Move final adoption.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs House Bill 1379. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 111 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Let's go to item number 16. That will be House Bill 1382. Bring it up, make the usual motion.
That's item 18. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Again, this is like the others. It's an LBR plus reverse repealer. There's no question. I move final passage.
Any questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1382. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to item 19 of House Bill 1383. Bring it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Again, this is dealing with the Office of State Public Defender, and it's at LBR plus a reverse repealer.
Questions?
No question. Move final passage.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1383. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
I'd like to go to item number 26. That would be House Bill 1390. Bring it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
I'd like to recognize Gentleman Harrison to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Harrison recognized, present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, this is Library Commission. It's at LBR with a reverse repealer in it. So it'll be coming back to us.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1390. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 116 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to item number 27, House Bill 1391. Bring it up and make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Jackson to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1391 is not exactly like the other bills. This is actually a reappropriation bill for the Bureau of Buildings, which is part of DFA. Last year, there were a lot of projects that were approved. Money was appropriated for those projects through the Bureau of Buildings. These are projects that have not been completed, but have already been authorized and appropriated money out of last year's budget. All we're doing is reappropriating approximately $70 million to bring that money forward out of last year's budget into this year to complete the projects that's already been started. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1391. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 117 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to the last item on appropriations calendar, be item number 50, House Bill 1414, and recognize the lady from the to explain the bill.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Lady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 1414 is our deficit appropriation bill. As you may recall, we had an early deficit appropriation bill earlier this session, and Section 1, I'll go through it section by section as I normally do. Section 1 is a deficit appropriation to the Attorney General's office. It's from the Capital Expense Fund. It's for settlements in the amount of $620,654. Section 2 is to the Attorney General's office for settlements. It's from, after, and through. It's from capital expense funds in the amount of $1,890,000. Section 3 is to the Community Junior College Board. It's for a health insurance increase in the amount of $366,133. Section 4 is to the Department of Public Safety from capital expense funds for a trooper school. It's in the amount of $1,522,743. Section 5 is to the Workers' Compensation Commission. It's from capital expense funds in the amount of $150,000, and it's for unbudgeted charges from ITS, major repairs to HVAC systems, and for mandatory upgrades. Section 6 is for Veteran Affairs, and it's also from capital expense funds, and it's in the amount of $150,000. Section 7 is for the Wireless Communications Commission. It's for contracts, and it is in the amount of $8 million. Section 8 is for the Department of Mental Health. It's also from capital expense funds, and it's for contracts and system maintenance in the amount of $331,057. Section 8 is for mental health, and it is for operational expenses in the amount of $20 million. Section 9 is for ITS. It is for contractually obligated system maintenance to ensure the system is functioning effectively and efficiently, and it's in the amount of $700,000. $167,479. Section 11 is for the Department of Agriculture. It's for CARES Act reimbursement in the amount of $76,120. Section 11 is for the Department of Agriculture. I just said that one, pardon me. Section 12 is for the Department of Finance and Administration. It is for CARES Act reimbursement, It's in the amount of $124,370. Section 13 is for the Department of Medicaid, and it's for spending authority in the amount of $199,710,000. Section 14 is for the Board of Animal Health. It's for equipment in the amount of $15,000. And Section 15 is for the Board of Medical Licensure. It's for personnel in the amount of $75,000. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield for any questions.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1414. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 115 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Anything further?
I'd like immediate release on
Any
those
objection?
items.
Hearing none, we will do that.
Appropriation yields the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings us to Ways and Means. Recognize the Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would go to the Ways and Means calendar, call up House Bill 1439 and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules to be suspended, bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of this body, I would ask for your full attention as we talk about this bill today. The bill before you today, House Bill 1439, I know many of you heard about it at this point. It's been titled the Mississippi Tax Freedom Act of 2021. I rise before you today to talk about what is likely the most transformative piece of legislation that will be presented to this House in any of our legislative careers. We're going to talk through a lot of numbers in discussing this bill, but numbers, percentages, and statistics are not what tax reform is really about. No, tax reform is really about our families. And I'm especially mindful of that today because today is my daughter Annie's 6th birthday. And I'm going to miss that today because I'm here with y'all. There are very, very few things that I would miss that for. And I would not miss that just to stand up here and talk about numbers and percentages and statistics. No, this is about our families and their future. It's about the people of the state and what kind of opportunities that they're going to have. Because you see, when taxes are too high, when taxes are unfair, it strikes at the very heart of those opportunities. This country was founded on opportunity. People came here from the old country because this was the first nation that gave ordinary people a chance to realize their dreams. Our founders started this country by declaring a radical truth, and they had to fight a revolution in defense of it. It's still true today, but yet it still has to be fought for. That truth was that all men, meaning all of us, are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These rights are what we are here about today because with the shackles of unfair tax, there is less life, less liberty, and less pursuit of happiness. That's what stands in the balance today. That's what you hold in your hands now. The special interests, the well-connected, they'll fight against it today just as they've done throughout history. But you and I together have to fight for it. It is our calling as members of this body. During our nation's darkest hour, President Lincoln spoke to a group of Union soldiers to tell them what they were fighting for. He said they were fighting to preserve that equal right to pursue happiness. They put everything on the line so that every American, regardless of their race, would have a reward for their work. Standing before those soldiers, President Lincoln said the right to have a reward for your work was the birthright of every American. That was the main issue of the war. They fought, he said, so that every American would have an open field and a fair chance in the race of life. Many of those soldiers, and many, many more in generations thereafter, have paid the ultimate price to give all of us that open field and a fair chance. But over time, our tax system has undermined that fair chance. That open field became a minefield of high taxes for the many, special exemptions for the few. It became a tax system that punished hard work, saving and investment, and rewarded wasteful consumption. You and I did not create the current tax system. That system and the culture that created it was already in place before most of us got here. But that doesn't give us an out. Most of you will remember just a few short months ago, in a very momentous year, the gentleman from home stood before you, stood before this body, and he addressed each of you about the flag that we inherited. He said that flag was here long before that we got here. But he said the question was not just what did we inherit, but what will we pass on? He told us that we had the power to change it, and ultimately that made it our responsibility. The tax issue we face today is no different. We have it in our power to change the tax system that we have inherited, and if we shirk that responsibility, if we fail to act, then you and I, each of us, own it. The flawed system handed down to us will become our legacy. I am here today to present to you a plan to help open that field and restore that fair chance to remove the obstacles of excessive income taxation, to let Mississippians run as fast and as far as they can. Are we going to continue with the tax system that holds them back? I say cut them loose and let them run. That's what this tax reform is designed to do. Let me tell you how. For calendar year 2022, the first $50,000 of income for every taxpayer, or $100,000 for a married couple, will be tax exempt. That will touch about almost 60% of current income taxpayers, meaning that they will pay no individual income tax. Also, beginning in calendar year 22, we will cut the grocery tax from 7 cents to 4.5 cents, and it will ultimately be reduced in half to 3.5 cents by the year 2026. The diversions that came out of that 2.5 cents will be made whole from the remaining grocery tax revenue so that the cities and the counties, education and infrastructure that come out of the grocery tax will all be the same as before. Department of Revenue estimates that those initial measures will reduce revenue by approximately $1.3 billion. Our plan, ladies and gentlemen, accounts for that. Our plan is to replace most all of that revenue. Beginning July 1, 2021, the general sales tax rate in the state will be increased 2.5 cents, but that additional 2.5 cents will not apply to groceries, and no diversions will come out of that so that the general fund is made whole. The revenue from the first 6 months of that 2.5 cents will be placed into a budget stabilization fund that we can use to address any unanticipated revenue shortfalls and potential other obstacles. Other goods and services that are currently taxed at reduced rates will also be increased 2.5 cents so that they stay the same relative to the general rate. Raising these special rates effectively pays for the cut in grocery taxes. Those who have gotten a special deal before will still have the preferred rate, but now they will pay 2.5 cents more, just like the everyday people of the state. That's not too much to ask to give income tax relief to all the people. The tax on cigarettes will be increased 50 cents a pack. The tax on other tobacco products currently taxed at 15% of the wholesale purchase price will increase to 25%. Department of Revenue estimates that these new revenue numbers will bring in about what we are removing, which is $1.3 billion. In other words, these initial changes are designed to bring in roughly the same amount of revenue that the initial individual income tax cut will reduce. So from a revenue standpoint, the initial measures will be a wash. For the people, though, there will be a substantial benefit. By shifting away from income taxes to sales taxes, we will no longer punish people by taxing their work. We will no longer punish people who save prudently. Instead, we encourage hard work and saving. The harder you work, the more you make, the more you stand to benefit from the income tax cut. If you are responsible with your money and you save, you will pay less sales tax than if you waste your money on unnecessary consumption. You effectively are able to control your own tax rate, and you will pay half the grocery taxes that you pay now. Every single taxpayer will benefit from these cuts. For the tax-paying families, their increased take-home pay will give them more money than the increase in sales tax will cost, and they will get a benefit from cutting the grocery tax in half. So let's look at some of those numbers. When this plan is phased in initially, an individual making $50,000 in this state will put $2,035 in their pocket. They would have to spend almost $82,000 in sales tax items to make up the difference in what's being cut. That's not likely, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly not sustainable. By the same token, an individual making, or a family making $100,000 will realize a tax cut of $4,535. They'd have to spend $181,400 to make up that difference in the taxes that are saved. So with these numbers, you can see this is a real tax cut to the working Mississippians in this state. Encouraging good financial habits can only cause our economy to grow. What's good for individuals must also be good for our economy as a whole, and the data proves it. Over the last decade, the 9 other states without an individual income tax grew their economies and their populations more than income tax states. If we want to grow our economy, prevent brain drain, which you and I have talked about many, many times before this body, this is the tool to do it. That's the first phase. Phase 2. The second phase, we will use growth to further reduce the individual income tax until it is totally eliminated. Our general fund revenue is currently approximately $5.7 billion. If we dedicate just 1% of revenue growth every year for years to buying down the income tax, that will total, for 10 years, that will total $570 million. The first 5 years of that growth will total $285 million. Department of Revenue estimates that that will be enough to raise the tax exemptions to $100,000 per person, $200,000 per married couple. By that 5-year point, approximately, and hear me here, by that 5-year point, 83% of tax-paying Mississippians will no longer pay income tax in 5 years. The second 5 years of revenue growth at the rate of 1% will bring in the remaining money necessary to totally eliminate the individual income tax in this state. Over the last decade, our general fund revenue has grown about 3.2%. Under this plan, we allow up to 1.5% of that growth to go for increased spending to keep up with inflation, but everything above that line will go to eliminate the individual income tax. We are making it a priority with this legislation. If you subtract that 1.5 from our historical rate of 3.2%, that leaves us more than enough room to accomplish this plan and eliminate the income tax within that 10 years. So is that too good to be true? Some of you may be thinking that. You may wonder, how is it possible to raise the same amount of revenue through sales tax that we are eliminating through the individual income tax, but yet the people would still be able to benefit substantially? This is not too good to be true. There's a simple reason. The base of the sales tax is much broader than the base of the income tax. Over time, the base of the income tax has been eroded with special perks and preferences for favored few, and it reduces the revenue that it brings in. And then there's the problem of tax cheats. They exist, ladies and gentlemen. Not everyone who should be paying the income tax pays what they owe. There's a sizable underground cash economy in this state in which people earn cash and they don't declare any income. Those individuals will not be able to escape the sales tax. In other words, they will all be paying their fair share. Everyone has to buy things. So even if they're cheating on the income side, when they buy something, they'll pay. By leveraging the broader base of the sales tax, we can tax the people less, but generate more revenue. It is truly a smart win-win approach. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage you, as you cast your vote today, to stay the course and stand against the naysayers, because they'll be out there. You're going to hear a lot from them, from the critics on this issue. A bunch of defeatists are going to tell you that this plan cannot possibly work. The Chicken Littles will say the sky will fall if we eliminate the individual income tax. They're going to look for every reason to stand up, and we will stay in last place if we listen to the critics. The critics who profit from the status quo always say that the sky will fall. But I'm here today to tell you that those critics are wrong. Do not listen to them. Those states that have eliminated their income tax have prospered. There is no reason we cannot do the same. If we are bold, we can move to the top. We do not have to be on the bottom anymore. Eliminating the individual income tax can be done, it must be done, and I hope with this body's will, it shall be done. You know that these critics will be coming from two different groups. One group will be the special interests who are getting preferential treatment at everyone else's expense. They're interested only in themselves. We must not listen to them. Our duty is to promote the good of all the people, not just a few favored groups. The second group will be those who believe more government is the solution to all of our problems. You'll hear about how state government needs more new money for this and more money for that. They'll tell you that the reasonable growth that we've allowed in this plan is just is not enough. I'm here today, ladies and gentlemen, to tell you that's not true. You'll hear about all the problems that can supposedly only be solved with more government, and isn't that what they always say? Well, I'm going to ask you to focus on something else. Instead of focusing on the critics, focus on this. Ask yourself this: what do the taxpayers need? What do the 25,000 people that you represent need? What do they need? What about the people who roll out of bed every morning with too little sleep, get the kids to bed, get the kids out of bed, get the kids to school, and go to work early and stay late? What about those folks? What about the people that put food on the table? What about them? What about the problems in their lives that they need to fix with their own money that they worked for? Who stands up for them? They don't have an army of accountants and lobbyists and tax lawyers. All they have is us, their representatives. Today, we're going to stand up for them. We're going to grow family budgets instead of government budgets. I want to talk right now directly to the folks at home. Folks at home, if you rise up and demand this tax reform, there aren't enough special interest and lobbyists in the world to stop it. To everyone at home and to you here today who have this decision in your hands, hear me on this one last thing. We must avoid the temptation to wait. The time is now. If we do not rise up now and get behind this tax reform, the special interest will entrench. They will bring all their money and power and organizations to bear. They'll fortify, dig in, and they will win. However hard the task is today, it will only get harder if we wait. Today, right now, is the best chance we will ever have to help make the American dream a tangible reality for every Mississippian by lessening their tax burden. And as I conclude, I'm going to ask you not to see me up here today, not to hear my voice, not to see the speaker standing behind me. No, see the face of the 25,000 people at home. See the face of your children and your grandchildren. See the face of the store clerk where you shop. See the face of the teachers and the football coaches back home. See the face of the man that you pass by every day on his way to work. Who's representing those folks? Is it the lobbyist in this building? No, it's not. It's each one of you. The fate of your children, your grandchildren, and all the generations yet to come, the chance to give them the shot at a better life is in your hands today. It's the chance of a lifetime. Do not let it pass by. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I have a brief amendment, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, you're recognized for your amendment. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment simply, there was a few code sections and some of the tax, the manufacturing tax sections that were inadvertently left out of the bill. A portion of the cigarette tax section was left out of the bill, and this just fixes those typos.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. In favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Anything further? You have any other amendments?
No, sir.
All right. Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the chairman would yield.
Certainly.
I was listening to your presentation on the bill. What would be the amount of the sales tax or the percentage rate of the sales tax on non-food items, grocery items under the bill?
It goes up. The general rate is currently 7%, gentlemen. It would increase 2.5% to 9.5%.
9.5%. Okay, would this bill affect those cities where we already have local sales tax?
Any city that has a local sales tax would still be allowed to have their local sales tax if they so choose.
Okay, but in Hattiesburg, we have a local tax where the tax is already 9%. And so under this bill, the local, the tax in Hattiesburg would be, 10.5%?
Whatever they tax locally would be on top of the state rate.
Okay. And I read something, I believe we have about maybe over 100 cities that have a local sales tax right now?
Gentlemen, I couldn't give you the exact number. I know there are several, but it is my understanding that the vast majority of those are only on prepared food and hotel rooms, things of that nature.
Okay, but this bill that we have before us would not affect in any way prepared foods?
Well, if it's currently subject to the general sales tax rate of 7%, then it would go to 9.5%.
Okay, thank you.
There's no changes there.
Now, the goal of the bill, Mr. Chairman, and please you correct me if I'm wrong, is to eliminate the income tax.
Yes.
Okay, it is not to, certainly to eliminate the sales tax, and it's not to eliminate the tax on groceries.
Well, it is to cut the grocery tax in half.
In half, okay. Now, when I looked in in this budget book, it reflected that the current amount that we are collecting on individual income tax is $1.85 billion. Is that correct?
The numbers that we have worked extensively with DOR, gentlemen, and those numbers may be a little bit dated that you have because the numbers we've been given is approximately 1.73.
Okay. This was in the budget book that we had, we got at the beginning of the session. My understanding is the budget that we are, amount of money that we are operating under at this time.
I believe that was last year, gentlemen, but the numbers, the current numbers going forward for next year, 1.73.
Okay, 1.7. Oh, I won't disagree with you on that, gentlemen. Okay. And the sales tax amount that we are collecting right now, anticipated to collect, is $2.4 billion.
I'm not going to disagree with your arguments, gentlemen.
Okay. But now, can you tell us how this bill will affect the, just say the collection of income tax for the next fiscal year?
So beginning in January of '22, the first $50,000 of income for any taxpayer would be exempt. That'd be $100 for a married couple.
And what revenue loss would that involve?
That is projected to be, just on the income side, approximately $1.1 billion, somewhere in that range.
You said
1.1 billion, somewhere in there.
Okay, and immediately?
Yeah, I can give you this number, gentlemen. Between the income tax loss and the loss of by cutting the grocery tax, it's approximately, these are round numbers, 1.3 billion. And the increase immediately from the 2.5 cent tax and the taxes that we mentioned a few minutes ago is also 1.3.
Okay, and for the next fiscal year, how would this bill impact the collection of sales tax?
Well, the sales tax revenues would increase because of the increased percentage of the rate.
Okay, how would it increase? I know you're going to get a decrease on grocery tax, but an increase on general sales tax. Could you tell us how much it would go up and how much it would go down?
1.3 billion.
1.3
is the increase, yes.
Is the increase, thank you. Now, if I had to go home and explain a vote on this bill, Mr. Chairman, could I tell my people that I voted for a tax increase?
No, sir.
Okay, I would not be voting for a tax increase.
This is a tax cut, and I believe the numbers that I illustrated earlier, and I'd be happy to walk through them again, that show that a person making $50,000, an income taxpayer making $50,000 will put in his pocket or her pocket $2,035. In order for that person to make up the difference of the money that they're going to put back into their pockets, they'd have to spend almost $82,000.
Okay, but I can represent to the people that I have elected me down here. I can represent to them that this is not a tax increase.
Yes, sir. It is a net. It is not a net tax increase.
Okay,
That's correct.
It is not a tax increase for. You're saying it's a tax shift.
It is a shift, but you're broadening the base. And what you're doing is you're also, the people, gentlemen, who hadn't been paying their fair share in the past, the guy who's running a cash business, the drug dealer on the street, the person in Oklahoma driving to Florida, coming through Mississippi, we're capturing that as part of our broader base.
Okay. So some people certainly would pay more taxes under this bill. I guess you just stated that. Am I correct?
Gentlemen, the people that I just mentioned, their tax, if they were not currently, those three categories that I just mentioned, a non-citizen and someone who was cheating the government, or both of them, would certainly pay more taxes, yes.
Now, is that anecdotal, or do you have some facts to base that on?
Well, gentlemen, if they're running a cash business right now, they're not filing income tax on it, then they're not following the current law. That's just, and if an individual is passing through our state that doesn't live here, then yes, they would pay more in sales tax.
Okay, but you don't have any information from the State Tax Commission to verify that, do you?
Gentlemen, I guess maybe it's a matter of semantics, and if I'm not explaining it well, I apologize, but I think the numbers that I just gave you show that out, and those numbers came directly from the State Tax Commission.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, is there a companion bill similar to this coming from the State Senate?
I'm not aware of one.
You're not aware?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentleman from Mayor and Mr. Morgan for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, you.
Always, for my desk mate.
Well, we kind of got you on the spot here. I want to
Yes,
ask
sir.
you a couple of questions. If my memory serves me correctly, a few years ago, we had some outside sources, I guess you would call them analysts, come in and tell us about our tax structure in the state of Mississippi. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
About how many years ago was that?
I believe we started that process back in 2016, I believe.
That seems about right.
Yes, sir.
You hear a lot of things around the Capitol. In other words, this thing just fell out of the sky the day before yesterday and didn't nobody know where it come from. How long you been working on this bill?
It'd be about 5 years now.
About 5 years now. You
Yes,
put
sir.
a lot of hard work into it, hadn't you?
Myself and several others included, but yeah, there's been a lot of hard work put into this bill.
And deep down in your heart and everybody else that dealt with it, the analysts and whatnot, this is the right thing to do. Is that right?
I think most people in this body know me well enough to know that if I didn't believe this was the right thing to do, I wouldn't be standing in this well right now.
I think you're that kind of fellow myself. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
The lady from Hines, Ms. Yates.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, lady.
I have just sort of like an in-the-weeds question, and
Okay.
numbers are not my thing, so you're honestly going to have to help me walk through this question.
Sure. We'll go back to our law school days.
I think it was opposite in law school.
You help. I agree.
Yeah.
You helped me a lot in law school, no doubt.
So if we look at the phase two portion,
Yeah.
if we have a 2% growth in revenue, then that would trigger an additional increase, or excuse me, an additional decrease in the sales tax.
Right.
Okay.
No,
And if
sorry,
there,
decrease in income tax.
yes, I'm sorry, income
Yeah.
tax. And if there is no growth, then there is no trigger, and so there will not be a decrease in income tax for that period.
That's right, and that's growth above inflation.
Right.
There's an inflationary factor that we take into account there.
What and how, this may be addressed in the bill, but I don't see it, so I'm just curious if there's a mechanism in place. say 1 year we have a really high growth,
Okay.
revenue growth, and so we see that decrease in income tax as a result of that. The following year, we have a loss in revenue.
Yeah.
Would the income tax then be increased again to keep those two in line?
No, it wouldn't increase. It would not increase that year. If we saw a loss, if we didn't have that growth that year, then that next year there would be no reduction of the income tax.
So it would just stay zero or whatever it was, even though there was a decrease in income tax from the previous year, even though the growth in revenue doesn't match?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It was in the weeds question.
Yes, ma'am.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, you.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the concept of this bill, but my concern is how it's going to affect those individuals who don't make enough money.
Yes, sir.
Who are out here dealing with this increased tax, as the gentleman from Forest was asking. How do we explain that?
Well, gentlemen, number one, if they work, then they're paying an income tax, if they're following current law. So that would be eliminated. But secondly, and I certainly am sympathetic, and we took all of this into account, any concerns for regressivity is being part of this plan, and that's exactly why we felt it was sound policy to cut the grocery tax in half in this plan. And so if a person is living on a limited income, then a finite amount of money, then a large majority of the money that they have is going to be spent on the necessities of life, like groceries and food. And they would actually receive a tax cut on those necessities.
Okay, so, and this totally opposite from this bill. So a couple of years ago, we did the tax cuts for the corporations. Was there a consideration to claw those back?
Gentlemen, there was not. We passed that bill in, I think, 2015 or so, somewhere in there. And that bill has been implemented over the last 4 or 5 years. It's in its latter stages of being implemented. And over the last 4 or 5 years, state government, our economy has continued to grow. And so that bill would say, and there may be some that disagree, but it has worked. We feel like we have grown the economy substantially to the point, I'll say this, if the state economy hadn't been growing the last 5 years, I don't know that I'd be in a position where I could stand before you today and present this plan where we cut grocery taxes and income taxes.
Right. And one final question, not to cut you off.
Sure.
One final question. I understand that the cities need a part of this grocery tax. Is there any consideration to reduce it further than 3%?
Gentlemen, when we get to the end of this plan, and I have to think of it like this, keep your eyes on the prize. The prize is to cut the grocery tax in half, eliminate the income tax. When we get to the end of that plan, then, everything's on the table.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Gentleman Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I introduced a bill to apply earned income tax credit to our legislative authority.
Yes, sir.
And I've talked to you about that. And so when we talk about the end of this bill, in an effort to work with you, are you still open and considering my proposal on earned income tax credit?
Certainly, John. We discussed that last night in committee,
Yeah.
and we need to have a little more time to sit down as this bill goes through the process. And I'm open to any conversations that we can have if that'll make the bill better, then I'm certainly open to that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Does this bill do anything as it relates to dividends on stocks or things like that?
If those dividends fell into the, excuse me, gentlemen, if they fall into, which I believe they would, the individual income tax, then yes, they'd be eliminated as well under this plan, part of the phase-in.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yield.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I have a question. young lady, single parent, has 4 children. She makes $52,000 a year. And school is coming around. So she has to buy school clothes, school supplies, probably a computer, and then potentially her car breaks down, so she needs another car. How would this proposal impact that family?
Well, gentlemen, I'll tell you, immediately they'd have a little over $2,000 back in their pocket to spend on those things you just mentioned. You mentioned a lot of school supplies. We left the school supply holiday, tax holiday in place. And so she shops on that weekend or that day, whatever day that is, that'd be a wise thing to do. But she would be paying half a tax in groceries and virtually would have no income tax to pay. So she'd have additional money in her pocket to buy those things that you just mentioned.
This haul should be based on benefit analysis. Who is going to benefit and how it's going to benefit. Will it benefit the lower income constituent of ours, or will it benefit the upper income or the business community? What about the little old lady who don't pay no income tax, senior citizen, retired? And I can say this very succinctly, most people who itemize their taxes and file the schedules don't pay state income taxes. Generally, it's wiped off. So I'm just wondering, who shall we say benefiting the most from this? The lower, middle income people of this state or the upper income people?
Well, thank you for the question, gentlemen. It was multifaceted, and so I'll try to answer it best I can. If I leave something out, then tell me. But the first answer that I would have to say is all of them benefit, because every worker in this state would pay no income tax on up to that first $50,000 of income, $100,000 for a married family. And so whether you're a $50,000 man or $1 million man, you're going to get the benefit of that $50,000. The difference in where the priority was placed on those lower income earners is that they pay no income tax at all. Under that scenario I just gave you, the $50,000 man pays no income tax, but the $1 million man continues to pay income tax on $950,000. And so the priority in this plan is the beauty of the plan. The working man, the lower income, the common folk were given priority in this plan.
To follow up, what percentage of the workers are not paying, people are not paying state income taxes? You have the percentage that's not paying currently?
I don't have the specific number of people who don't pay income tax. No, sir, not with me. I can get that though and get it to you.
Well, I'm just telling you, it seems to me that most people don't pay state income tax, particularly businessmen who itemize their returns.
Well, I can tell you this, gentlemen. We have, current law is a $6,000 personal exemption and a $2,300 standard deduction on top of that. So if a man who makes $50,000, if he's writing off that remaining $43,000, $44,000, I don't know how he's doing that, but so I guess I would disagree with those numbers, but thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1439. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 85 yeas and 34 nays, the bill passes. Anything further? Gentleman yields the floor. Announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk.
Public Health and Human Services Subcommittee Number 1 will meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock in room 113.
Announcements by the members. Lady from Hines, Ms. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd ask that the House adjourn in memory today for Joyce Martin, who was my grandmother who passed away on Friday.
Sorry to hear that, lady. We certainly will do that. Lady from Madison, Ms. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Another young man from Madison died last night of a fentanyl overdose, and I would like to adjourn in memory of Austin Elliott and thank each one of you who voted for House Bill 1144 that will hold drug dealers accountable. This has to end.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentleman from Lafayette, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Speaker, adjourn in memory.
Yes, sir.
I would like for us to adjourn in memory of Miss Barrett Clymer's grandmother who passed away over this past weekend, Miss K.K. Smith.
Thank you, sir. We'll certainly do that, and we extend our sympathies to Barrett. Lady from Hines, Ms. Summer.
Adjourn in memory, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to adjourn in memory on behalf of the Fuller family. We lost the Griffith family. We lost Henry Griffith, who worked for Hines County for a number of years, worked under Supervisor Peggy Calhoun for several terms, and he passed away on yesterday.
Thank you, ma'am. We will do that. Gentleman from Alcorn, Mr. Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I put a note on everybody's desk, but just to reaffirm that, if you have a suffrage bill that you would like to be considered, please get to legal services by March the 5th. I do intend to bring out some suffrage bills, but I need to have a deadline to have those to legal by March the 5th. Thanks.
Any other announcements? I do not see any. Recognize the gentleman from Octavia Hall for the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House stand adjourned until 2 o'clock tomorrow.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned till 2 o'clock tomorrow.